back, listeners and viewers, to another episode of Education, the Teacher's Talking Terror podcast, where myself, Mike,
and myself, Courtney,
are back to talk about another scratch-off horror film. We went way back to 1943 for this one, as we are covering the Val Lewton produced I Walked with a Zombie. Very atmospheric movie.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to say in 2024 that things in 1943 were scary, because they weren't. Mm-hmm. At the time, sure. Now, no. And that's okay. That's okay. Like, that's just how time evolves. Like, but I will say that this movie did definitely deliver on the atmosphere.
Yes.
And one other thing I got to thinking earlier, I was like, for this many African-American actors in a movie cast in 1943 was also quite the achievement. So kudos to the creative team involved, even though, they had to go like voodoo to get, as many black actors in as they can. But hey, works. So, but yeah, I Walked with a Zombie. Again, I think this was the last like super old scratch off. I think. I don't quote me on
black and white.
Well, I don't know about last black and white. I haven't looked yet. But I can do that real quick just because I'm curious. Let me pull up the while I'm looking at this, do we have any New Year's resolutions for the show?
Oh, that's a good question.
Something that we want to... there's another 1943. I'm looking. 1935. 1931.
Oh, you were wrong.
I was way wrong. Well, I forgot like Frankenstein was on the list.
That's like the first time that I've ever said that, but you're wrong.
Oh, that's not true. I'm wrong often. 1942. Yeah, so I was wrong. We got a few more oldies. 1920, although that movie's fun. I like that movie. 1945. Yeah, it's a silent film. So not only do you got no color, you also have no audio.
Oh, no.
1946, 1932. Oh, yeah. I was way off. We got plenty.
We haven't even touched the tip of the old ones.
We got plenty of classic hits coming your way. But no, just anything off the top of your head that in 2024 that we kind of want to do, kind of don't want to do.
I don't know. Maybe get like a couple more guests on, because
I think guests would be nice. Yeah, I mean, obviously we rode with Ella for the Scream franchise, but we've had outsiders. We've had Erica Delaney. I think it's about it, isn't it? Yeah, we could definitely have some outsiders.
And like, I think that we had kind of thrown around a parent at the school coming on, and you kind of doing like a little trivia. A little rapid fire. I'll generate some questions and ask you guys.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I think that would be a blast.
Yeah, I forgot about that parent. We got another, like, there's a teacher colleague too at the junior high that's a big horror film fan. It's like, I'd love to be on your show. So
okay.
Yeah, we got some room. We got some definite room. We just got to make sure we do it.
Yeah.
Because with this flow of the scratch off, the random, and then your pick, my pick, it does get us into a groove. And then, of course, with our just outside of the podcast times, running into things. But yeah, I think we definitely could throw some fun little wrinkles in this year as we tiptoe our way closer to our 100th episode, which will happen this year, sooner than later. So, but without further ado, let's get into I Walked with a Zombie. Short movie, hour and 9 minutes. Not a whole... I mean, I liked this movie.
I was going to say, I enjoyed this movie as well.
Yeah.
We did kind of get into like the witch doctor voodoo type thing that you had mentioned earlier. But I mean, while there weren't any like jump scares or anything, or like you had said, like it wasn't scary, quote unquote.
Yeah.
It was still pretty good, I thought.
Yeah, the story's pretty solid. We start off in the Canadian like winter. We meet Betsy. She's a nurse, and it's just I love these when everything's filmed on like film stock, and there you can tell it's like, well, this movie's got to be a short one because we don't have enough film. We get these just quick little throwaway, just scenes where we meet Betsy in Canada, and she's basically interviewing, because again, she's a nurse. She's interviewed to take care of a wife of a man down in the Caribbean. That's it. And she's probably thinking, I'm in the Canadian winter. That's the Caribbean. I'm in, like as simple as that. And then one last little question. The interviewer's like, do you believe in witchcraft? In which she just kind of like, laughs it off. Like, whatever. Don't go into a lot of detail about what to expect, but that's honestly what the rest of the movie is for. Mm-hmm. So, then next thing you know, Betsy's in the Caribbean. Like, old movies nailed it because if it were a movie today, there would have been the interview. It would have been a much longer scene. Then there would have had to been a scene of her getting ready, a scene of her getting on the airplane, a scene of her arriving, like all of that just filler. No, you started us off in the snow, and then the next scene she's in like on a banana plantation or whatever. Like there, okay, you've established the fact that she's traveled. I don't need to see it. And it's nice. We do find out that Paul Holland, the guy whose wife is in need of care, he's pretty wealthy. He owns a sugar plantation, which for the like Caribbean islands, like sugarcane is a big export. And so, she's set up pretty good. Mm-hmm. I really, really enjoyed the dynamic because like I mentioned, there are a lot of African American actors in this movie. Some of them may even be like native to the Caribbean. Like they just either that or they had really good accents.
Yeah.
But aside from just like the sugar plantation, I didn't get the vibe that there was any like racial discharge.
Right. Like those who were employed by the Hollands, they were still very friendly. Like treated them great. Like I felt as if they all belonged.
And they were treated well.
Yes.
On the same, like when Betsy's getting a ride to Holland's place, like she's just having conversation with the coachman. Like the color of their skin played a part only because of the roles that they're in, but they still were very dignified to each other. She didn't talk down to him. Like nobody, I didn't really feel like any of the white characters in the movie spoke down to the black characters, which was refreshing, for this time and the story as well as this time in filmmaking. So, so the coachman is basically like, all of the black people of the island came here. We're all descendants from slaves that were brought here by the Hollands' ancestry. So there's kind of, it's in the story, but it's almost like, well, that's just the life we live. So, I got a job and we're good. But it was like, we're all here because of the Hollands, just like you.
Yeah.
You're here because of the Hollands working. We're here because of the Hollands working. So there we go. And so we, again, rapid fire, because it's a short movie. We get to a dinner and we meet everybody else. We've met Betsy. We met Paul. We meet Paul's like half brother, Wesley. And you could tell Wesley, being younger, not a big fan of Paul and his success.
Yeah.
And shows that by drinking a lot. And they get along, but you could tell that Wesley's got just contention.
Yeah.
So, and then who do we meet that night?
The patient, Jessica.
Jessica.
And she's just kind of like aimlessly wandering around.
Just almost like very ghostly.
Yeah. And this part was like you had said, like the atmospheric, like this was, because she's just like, just wandering, and Betsy's like, hello? And she's just I mean, I think at one point, like, they ran right into each other almost, or
yeah,
something.
she's
Like,
right up in her face. Yeah,
yeah,
and the atmosphere is all set with just perfect lighting, like because it's a dark set,
mm-hmm.
but they've got the lights exactly where they need to be, and the actors are exactly where they need to stand,
Yeah.
and so it's well done. And you're right, like this is the first time we've seen Jessica. We know who Betsy's going to take care of, Jessica,
right?
but yeah, she did, like you said, just kind of shuffling around aimlessly.
And so Dr. Maxwell, who is another character that we're introduced to, kind of, he lets Betsy know, like, hey, this is what's wrong with Jessica. She can't speak. She can't do anything really by herself because her spinal cord was damaged due to a fever.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, I guess I think makes sense. Like, strep can get into your spinal cord, so yeah.
It's like she had, she was so sick that it really damaged her nervous system, and so this is where she's at.
Mm-hmm.
Hence why she needs the care.
Yeah. So we've got the next day, and was it Paul and Betsy, or was it?
It was Betsy and Wesley.
Wesley, okay, yes.
No, it was.
Or was
Paul.
it Paul?
It was Betsy and Paul that were just like out, like not
lunch, kind of.
Yeah, like not. It wasn't anything romantic or anything, but it was definitely a scene where these two are together, and you get the vibe. And I mentioned earlier, it's like there's not a lot of like racial disparity between the two groups, which is fine, but you could still tell that everybody kind of knows their place.
Mm-hmm.
And even though the like Afro-Caribbean, ancestry is here because of Holland's ancestry, it's like there's only one of Paul and all of them. And so the rumor mills are floating around or whatever, and this is kind of a fun little scene.
Yeah, because you've got one and he's just singing a song.
Yeah, that's all he's doing. He's doing his job.
But it's kind of about how Jessica got sick because Paul, kept her back and whatnot because she was going to run away with Wesley.
Yeah, she was in love with Wesley and just kept trying to escape, and next thing you know, she's sick.
Yeah, and so that frustrates Paul. He's, angry with them and just kind of whatnot. They have a little conversation about the drinking at the house and all of the tension between them. Another song happens a little bit later in that, and it's about something else, but it kind of alludes to the same thing.
Yeah.
And we go back to the house, dinner that night, and there's no alcohol left at the table.
Yeah, because the whiskey decanter had just been like a staple.
Yeah.
And even Betsy was like, Paul's like, oh, Wesley drinks all the time, and Betsy's like, well, then take the alcohol away.
Yeah, like,
well, that's not how we do it around here. This is
how it was when my grandpa lived here. Yeah. Like, this is all I remember. It's like, okay.
Yeah. But then, like you said, comes the dinner, the whiskey's gone. Even Wesley's like, where's the whiskey? Like, come on.
Yeah, and things kind of get tense between Wesley and Paul because, and...
because I could see Wesley's frustration, though,
too.
Like, I'm your family, but you clearly are in a better place than I am, and now I'm your employee, and like you're treating me very like older brother / boss / fatherly. Like, I can see the resentment, especially when it's like, I was in love with your wife, and now I can't even have that either.
Yeah.
So
I've got nothing.
Yeah, this movie really doesn't have a bad guy.
Yeah.
Per se, but I would say if you had to target one, it probably would be Paul. Even though he's not like menacing. He just is one of those that like he knows where his power stands. And
he's
just kind of a control freak.
Yeah.
So
Betsy, in the meantime, has fallen in love with Paul.
Of course she has. Which is kind of and it's one of those that she's fallen in love with him, but he's also the married one.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I have a wife, but it's like, well, can't have your cake and eat it too, Paul.
But she's determined to just make him happy.
Yeah.
She's like, and I'm going to do that by fixing Jessica.
Right.
So she agrees to some shock therapy for like insulin, which is supposed to just like reset you kind of in a way. And that fails. So then we meet another character, Alma.
Yeah.
Who is
she's
a
like
maid.
a maid. Yeah. Yeah.
And she's like, take her to go be healed by the voodoo priest.
Yeah. Because all of the help, I think, despite the fact that Betsy is Caucasian, she's also one of the help.
Yes.
And so I really think the help is taken to her because she is super polite to them.
Yes.
And so, like you said, Alma's like, we have a feeling something else is going on. So why don't you, like you said, go through the sugarcane fields, like around the tree, like go see the voodoo priest.
Yeah.
He'll take care of it.
Yeah. And as she's waiting in line, she's pulled aside and to this hut, and she meets the mom.
Yeah.
Of Paul and Wesley.
Yeah. Paul and Wesley's mom is in with the voodoos. And we got a really cool scene where she's taking Jessica to the voodoo, like walking through the woods. And she's been told, like, just walk until you'll see a man. Like, and this is where we get, like, he's got to be like 7 foot tall. Just real.
Okay, this scene I think is the one where this one was kind of creepy. Like, because he obviously is African American, and then we've got it's dark, and all you can see are his eyes, basically, from the shadows.
They're really bugged out and real milky looking, but Betsy knows she's on the right track because that's who she was told to look for.
Yeah,
and he's the zombie, one of the zombies in the I Walked with a Zombie.
Yes.
Because you could tell he's not normal,
right,
at all. But yeah, so yeah, we meet Paul and Wesley's mom. She is I won't say in cahoots with the voodoo, because this isn't your traditional Hollywood movie where like voodoo's evil. This is just voodoo's an alternative. And so like she's taken into a hut. Jessica's left outside. We get a lot of exposition from the mom. Just like, well, when all else fails, you turn to alternative medicine. Meanwhile, outside, we got like your voodoo performers. And there's a guy who's dancing around with a sword, and he's trying to do his thing. And while Betsy's inside the hut, the rest of them are basically looking at Jessica like, something's off with her.
Yeah.
So, the guy with the sword, like, dances right up to her and, like, stabs her in the arm. Like, drives that sword right into her arm. She doesn't react. She doesn't bleed. And so everyone around is like, she's a zombie. Like, we know it. Like, this is exactly the characteristics of being a zombie. She's a zombie. And so like Mrs. Rand being Paul and Wesley's mom, she's basically like, you got to get her back, get her out of here, get her back. It's clearly Mrs. Rand knows more than she's letting on.
Yes.
So
yeah. So they get back and Paul greets them. He's upset because he gets a little bit less upset when he realizes that like Betsy's just trying to help you, but he is upset because he finally comes out and confesses that he doesn't love his wife anymore.
Right.
Which it's like, dude, then just let her go.
Right.
To Wesley then. Like, let her go.
Yeah. It's that control thing.
Yeah.
It's like, well, she was the only woman on the island, so she's mine. And now now she's basically catatonic, but you're not, so I like you now.
Yeah.
It's so like fourth grade.
Yeah. And so meanwhile, the voodoo now congregation is like, we want Jessica.
Mm-hmm.
They've heard about, the zombie murmurs, and now we want her.
Yeah.
So everyone has decided that the best thing for Jessica is to go to an asylum.
Yeah, why not? Because that's just what it is.
Yeah. And I feel
Yeah.
like back in the day, if you didn't know what was wrong with someone, or,
Oh yeah.
like just send him to the asylum.
If you're not like me, then you're crazy and you need
Yep.
to go into an asylum.
And Wesley wants Jessica to stay, tells Betsy to go back because she's going to be just as unhappy as Jessica is.
Yeah.
Was before her illness. And the man that we were talking about earlier,
Carafor.
Yeah, Carafor.
He's the big zombie. Tall zombie, not big. He wasn't big at all.
He was tall and thin, but yeah. He is sent to get Jessica.
Yeah.
And so
we've got this like overlapping sending to get I'm ahead of myself. Never mind. Go ahead.
And so as he's walking up to get Jessica, realizes it's Betsy in Jessica's robe. And he then is ordered to leave by their mom, Mrs. Rand. And then this is where Dr. Maxwell visits Fort Holland, and it's like there's an investigation going to happen because we've got to figure out something with Jessica.
Yeah, because this isn't normal.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't the way the Hollands conduct business. This isn't the way your, like, quote unquote, like, white society handles things. There's no alternative. There's just our way. And so this is how we have to go about it.
Yep. And so Mrs. Rand informs everybody that Jessica's not sick and she's not insane. But as a matter of fact, she's dead.
Yeah. She's just a zombie, guys.
Yeah.
Just
like,
relax.
don't worry. And she hasn't tried to, like, eat anybody's brains or anything.
No,
so
because we didn't have those kind of zombies until Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah. So she's like, she came with Wesley the night that she tried to run away, and they asked her to make Jessica a zombie.
Mm-hmm.
Which was
nobody believes it.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, whatever. Like, Wesley's obviously the only one who believes the story because he was in it.
Because he was there, yeah.
Yeah. And so later on, Wesley asked Betsy to euthanize Jessica.
Yeah, just kill her.
Yeah, please.
Betsy's like, no.
Like, if she's already dead, just kill her.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's already done.
Yeah.
Then we get a really cool scene of that guy with the sword earlier. Like, because back in, like, your, like, voodoo community, like, they're still like, we gotta get her. We gotta get Jessica.
Mm-hmm.
Like, zombies belong to us. You can't have her. So they've made, like, a little voodoo doll, and they've got it on a string, and it's cool because they keep going back and forth where, like, he's pulling the string of this doll, bringing the doll closer to him, which then is causing Jessica to go closer to the community until literally, like, Paul and Betsy just, like, close the gate.
Yeah.
Like, she just runs into the gate and like, oh, you're stuck now.
Yeah.
Wesley then he wants to help her, because again it's too late for Jessica, but he's still he still wants what's best for her because he does care about her. He thinks about helping her, and then he goes instead and gets an arrow that was, like, on this, like, garden statue. It was, like, part of one of the ships or whatever. And so we still have the over-splicing scene where, Wesley's got this arrow, but the man in black back at the voodoo community, like, he stabs that doll with a pin at the same time that Wesley, like, stabs Jessica with the arrow. So it's like she is now, like, deceased.
Yes.
And that, I guess that's up for interpretation. Is she dead because the voodoo guy stabbed the doll? Or is she dead because Wesley stabbed her with the arrow? Because they were synonymous with each other.
Yeah.
And the movie ends with Carafor claiming her body. And taking her out to sea.
Yeah, and Betsy and Paul console each other because Now Jessica and Wesley are found
Yeah.
floating.
Yeah. So it's all tidied up. Betsy and Paul can be together. That's good.
Yeah.
Nice little
Good
romance.
for them.
Yeah. Well, Wesley and Jessica wanted to be together
Yes.
anyway, and now they are in eternal resting place. So, and that's just kind of how the movie ends. You just then you cut to credits, and back in 1943, the credits were just like on the screen. They didn't scroll. It just was boom. Here's the 18 people that worked on this. So that's it. That's Walk with the Zombie. I liked this movie.
I did too.
Yeah, I've got a soft spot for like old black and white films anyway, especially if they're done with solid production value, which this one was. So, what would you grade this one?
Okay, so I was thinking I'm gonna give it a B, just because it was just average. It was okay. It was a little better than average.
Yeah, and I was thinking a B as well. Like it's one that it's like, is this a movie that if we weren't doing the show, I would be like, Courtney, you've got to see I Walked with a Zombie. No, it wouldn't. But I'd seen this movie before. I'd forgotten pretty much what it was about, but it's still like, okay, I'm good with it. You got a creepy, Kyra Forrest, creepy looking zombie.
Yeah.
Kind of it's probably not the first zombie movie, but it's an introduction to what like undead shuffling could look like.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on like alternative medicines, healings, that kind of stuff?
I don't know, because I'm definitely like alternative medicine, like the chiropractor and stuff like that.
But in terms of like,
now if someone were to be like, go to the witch doctor,
or what about like crystals and?
Okay, so I do not believe in crystals. Okay. I don't know. I just don't. My best friend Erica is a very firm believer in crystals. Like, she moon bathes them, she recharges them on the full moons, she does all of that stuff. Like, we all had relaxing crystals given to us on her wedding day. Yeah, she's very much a crystal person. Like, but yeah, I guess I just don't place any belief in that stuff because I don't know.
Right. Where I stand on it is I'm not going to harsh someone's mellow. Like, if another person believes that they have healing powers and healing properties, and I'm not going to stand in your way.
Right.
Go for it. Like, I want everybody to find bliss and happiness, and if for you it's taking some turquoise and rubbing it on your gums, I don't know. Like, I made that up. But if somebody is like, hey, have you tried this? I'm not necessarily on board with it working, but hey, if it works for you, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, we try things as silly as like, for leg cramps, put soap at the end of your bed. I mean, so I've tried that, and it's like, that's just kind of like, what? No, just eat a banana. But yeah,
I guess really at the base of it, it's almost like, isn't all medicine kind of that? Just experimentation of things? Like, it's, and by medicine, even drugs in general, it's just like, and if it works for you, good. Like, I understand that there's a lot of people in society that poke fun. I'm not going to poke fun. If you want to believe that if I make if I make a doll in your resemblance, then I can control you. All right.
Can you just make me work out a lot, please? Yeah,
it's like, or just better yet, just make me a thin doll.
Yeah, please.
But no, I'm kind of in the same boat of like, I wouldn't say I believe, but I'm not going to tell you you're wrong.
Right. Yeah. Erica's definitely a firm believer in, and I sit and I listen to her because that's what she believes in, and that's fine. Right. Like,
and it makes for an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
And honestly, I can't necessarily speak for Erica, but I know that there's things that I almost enjoy talking to people about that disagree. Yeah. Because it just keeps the conversation lively. Like, if all you did was surround yourself with people that agreed with you all the time, then there's nothing to get excited about. But it's not a matter of proving people wrong. It's just a matter of differing opinions and balancing act between the two. So, all right. So, I really don't think there's many lessons to take.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either.
No, I would say that's one area of the show that really kind of got away from us. Remember, the whole premise of this is we're going to evaluate these movies as if we were a teacher in this universe.
And it's kind of hard.
It really is. Because if there's no kids, then who cares? Like, how would you handle this? How would you handle being a teacher here? I just teach.
Put my kids on lockdown. Like, just don't leave the classroom then. And
I wouldn't even go that far because everything that happens here is almost hush hush anyway. It's like, it wouldn't have any impact on me at all. So how would you teach that? I would just teach. Mm-hmm. So I do like we've done this for quite a while, shifted into the like life lesson kind of thing. And that works okay. But yeah, it's like when we get a movie with children, I'm sure we'll chime in. Okay. What is the rotation this week?
Random shuffle.
All right, random shuffle. I thought so. So I am pulling up the old Plexitron right now. Let me go to genre horror and get ready to shuffle. Again, we're looking at 974 movies to choose from. I hit shuffle and we're going to 1990.
Okay.
Yeah, you can handle 1990.
Yeah, I was born in the 90s.
I graduated high school in the 90s, and that's okay. We are going to be watching 1990's Tales from the Dark Side, the movie. Oh. Yeah. Tales from the Dark Side is... It was a television show. Okay? Just to go back a little bit. There was a television show in the early 80s that was actually created by George Romero, Night of the Living Dead fame, called Tales from the Dark Side. And it was kind of a Twilight Zone type of feel to it, only less science fiction-y. You would have an episode, and each episode was like a horror short. They'd be like 20 minutes long, right? And so you would have, each episode would just be a different short, scary story. Well, in 1990, it was on for 4 seasons. There was like 94 episodes of it. But in 1990, they made a movie, which I probably like cherry picked, like some of the better received, and then gave them a little bigger budget approach. So we've got Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, and it's got 3 stories in it. It's an hour and a half long, so each one's going to be about a half hour. And so instead of one big through line, we're going to be watching a film that is made up of like 3 smaller stories that don't necessarily interconnect. So the nice part about it is like, if you didn't like one, you got 2 others, Yeah. There's a little bit of comedy involved, a little bit of horror. I've seen this once. I don't really remember the gist of them. Again, because there's like 3 small stories. Yeah. So, but you've got, and then you've got a wraparound. These anthology movies always have a wraparound, like the prologue and the epilogue. There's always some reason why we're watching these stories. Okay. It's usually somebody's telling a tale, and then they like cut to the the movie version of the set tale. And that's what we've got here. We've got we've got a wraparound story starring Deborah Harry. Deborah Harry being the lead singer of the band Blondie. Probably don't have a clue what I'm talking about, do you?
No.
No. You've probably heard some of their stuff. Hanging on the Telephone, Rapture. Good stuff, Blondie. So she's like the star of the epilogue, the prologue epilogue wraparound, and then there's 3 stories involved there. So this will be fun. I think you'll like it. You'll like it. It's good gore. You might recognize some people in it. You've got, like I said, Deborah Harry. You got Steve Buscemi, which I'm sure you'll recognize. Julianne Moore, you'll recognize. Christian Slater, you might recognize. There's a lot of like people in it that you might recognize. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Matthew Lawrence. But
I don't think we've done any. I don't think we've. This will be our first anthology.
Yes.
Yeah. There's good anthologies. Creepshow 2 are good anthologies. Trick or Treat's a good anthology. This is a solid one, though. This would be a nice introduction to anthologies for you.
Okay.
So, yeah. Tales from the Dark Side, the movie. That'll be fun. It's been a while since I've seen it. So, well, you got anything to send off with?
Nope. When this publishes, hopefully, if you had a snow day, enjoy the snow. If not,
yeah, here in the Midwest,
drive safe.
Yeah, here in the Midwest, we're supposed to get hammered.
Yeah.
I've seen anywhere from like 3 to 8 inches overnight to another like 2 to 3 inches tomorrow. Who knows? You just never know.
It's supposed to start at 5 and it's just supposed to go.
Yeah, I have. It's been this weird feeling though that over the past 3 or 4 years, it's like we always seem to be right in this zone of will it or won't it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it always seems to be this path right through our area where if you're north of us, you're going to get hit.
Yeah.
If you're south of us, you might not get hit. But right in the middle, it's like, are you going to have 3 or 8 inches?
Yep.
Like, are you going to have sidewalks or, snow drifts?
Or can you lose your dog in the snow?
Yeah. And I'd be happy to lose one of my dogs in the snow. But I'm not that fortunate. I'm kidding.
Because of that comment, we will get no snow tomorrow, and we're also going to be canceled because PETA's going to come after us.
I still got to work. I hope I can get into work tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, but no, my kids are already banking on like, hopefully there's no school. And I'm like, if there's not, there's not. Like,
yeah, I've just kind of made the mindset of there's going to be school.
Yeah,
like I told all my kids, like, I'll see you guys tomorrow. And they're like, my mom and dad said it's going to snow. I'm like, well, I don't know, but I'll see you tomorrow because I'm one of those that will definitely get my hopes up. Like,
yeah, I
get to sleep in.
I should probably put together because we bought an electric like snow shovel.
Oh,
2 years ago, and it's still in the box because
we really haven't had snow.
Exactly, it hadn't snowed much in the last couple of years to warrant having to go out.
Yeah,
because it sucks getting out at like, like my wife has to go to work. It's back then it sucked having to get out at like 5:30 in the morning to go shovel the drive, and then have to shovel it again at 7:30.
Yes,
because if you wait till 7:30, it's too much to shovel.
Yeah.
So we did get one of those. It's not a snow blower. It's not like a full, but it's okay. They call it an electric snow shovel. It kind of does the same thing.
You'll have to let me know how it works.
Yeah, you plug it in. Like I said, it's been 2 years. It's literally still in the box, like down the basement.
The warranty's not even good anymore. So if it doesn't work, right. You're out of luck.
Yeah. Might have to put that together tonight and see how that goes. So. Well, ladies and gentlemen, for another episode of Deducation, you can find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And we will be back next week with Tales from the Dark Side of the Movies. So, again, for Deducation, I'm Mike.
And I'm Courtney.
We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.